This is Dragothien here. Today we're going to be updating our top 5 best epic-only pairs for the open field. We had Bjorn come out just recently in the latest Vikings things that came into the game. We had Tzu Joan come out as well. We need to update. We need to do an update on the top 5 epic pairings for the field. At the same time, this is for players who are completely free to play, who do not want to invest in any legendary commanders. And ultimately, I'll give you some ideas on how you can substitute some things and update them a little bit with some of the best commanders that free-to-play players and low-spending players can get. Let's jump into the game here, and let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is going to be all epics. We have a total of 16 epic commanders currently in the game, and with having the ability to bring 10 of those to the field at one time, unless you get a 6th March in Heroic Anthem or a 7th, God forbid. And again, if you are, you're generally not going to have 12 or 14 epics coming to the field. But if you did, I wanted to make sure you have at least the 10 that you wanted to bring to the field. Now, we've got some heavy hitters, right? Some obvious ones, like a Sun Tzu. You know, we've got some other heavy hitters like, say, Baybars. Got some other good heavy hitters like Osman. And Kira, being even a peacekeeping commander with her damage to scenario battles bonuses and things like that, does a lot for a March and does a serious amount of skill damage. So I wanted to make sure that we brought her to the table. And really, at the end of the day, this is going to be for just maximizing your damage as a full epic commander squad rolling around and causing some damage. Let's go ahead and get jumped into it, and I'm going to give you some explanations on each one of the ones that I'm talking about. And also, if you have some legendary commanders at certain levels, I'll give you some recommendations there as well. Number one, we have ourselves a Bjorn Ironside and a Tzu Joan. Now, you could throw Eulji here. You could certainly do that. The reason I chose Tzu Joan over Eulji is because she does healing and her damage is higher. Now, there's a 5% stat bonus on attack and defense over what Tzu Joan provides. Eulji gives 15 and 15 when he's expertise, which all your epic commanders should be expertise, right? But Tzu Joan provides 10% and 10% for generic across the board, so you can use her with any type of troop. But again, the reason I added her was because of the healing factor that she brings to the table, and she does 1600 damage factor. That's a legendary damage factor commander. With anything coming out. I mean, the newest commanders, some of them only have 1500 damage. So you have to understand what you're dealing with here. I think this is a great pairing. Obviously, Bjorn being one of the best epic commanders in the game now. Second only, I think, to the next one that's coming up here for you. Let's go ahead and bring them out onto the field. We have Bjorn and Tzu Joan. The next one we're bringing out, Sun Tzu and Joan. Now, again, you can plug in Eulji for Joan. You can plug in Matilda for Joan if you wanted to. I just hate not bringing Joan to the field, especially when we're only using epic commanders. Reason being, certainly Scipio is a classic pair, by the way. Sun Tzu Scipio is one that I used very early game for a long time before we had all these legendary commanders coming out back to back to back to back, right? And we didn't really have the ability to bring 5 full legendary commander pairings to the field. I would use Sun Tzu. I would use Sun Tzu Scipio. I would use Sun Tzu Barca, and those were great pairings. But if you're doing 5 epic pairs, I think you have to bring Joan. You have to bring Joan to the mix. Her primary skill, giving all these different buffs to all the different troop types, which we will have all 3 battle troop types on the field with this set of pairings, and bringing 50 additional rage per second for 4 seconds. That's 200 rage for your entire squad. You have to have this, in my opinion, to bring the boom on the field with 5 epic commanders. Obviously, again, her 4th skill, increasing normal attack damage by 25%, not bad on an infantry march, and also having a little bit of a heal, a 10% chance to heal, 450 healing factor every 5 seconds. That's pretty darn sweet. I think that's great. Again, the 5-second part is a trigger limit, but you know, it tends to trigger like once every 5, 6, 7 seconds, and it will pop off. So very, very strong pairing. And again, it gives you a rage engine, not only for Sun Tzu pouring out the damage, but also with Joan giving you the rage. It's allowing Sun Tzu to pour more damage out with his primary skill, which is one of the best 4 epics in the game. Let's bring him out on the field as well. Number 3, we have got Herman Osman, another classic pairing. And again, the reason this works is because of all the skill damage that's being pumped out. Herman does a very nice skill damage, 1150, and reducing the rage of its target and silencing it for 2 seconds. That is very strong. That's a very strong primary active skill that you want to bring to the table as an epic commander. We've got some stat bonuses for march speed and for attack. We've also got the 4th skill, which is one of the best ones in the game. Again, normal attack damage increasing by 10%, and normal attacks having a 10% chance to grant an additional 100 rage. So 100 rage taken from your target, 100 rage added to your army. That's a strong setup. And why do we want all that rage? Well, Osman pumps out damage like crazy. 1100 damage factor on his primary skill. His 3rd skill, after using an active skill, deals extra damage of 400 on the next turn. And again, you get a troop capacity bonus, which helps keep this army alive a lot longer. And because Herman has the skill damage tree, he's pumping out rage, he's pumping out damage. That's a great pair. Let's bring him out onto the field as well. Herman and Osman, my number 3 pick. Number 4, let's go with Kusunoki and Kira. Now again, you can kind of mix this up if you don't want to have a Cav March, and we can do some things with that, but I hate giving up Baybars, and you can go Baybars Kusunoki for like a shotgun type march, but I like this pairing because both of these are AoE, they're both archer focused, and the skill damage being pumped down is absolutely incredible. You've got Kusunoki here doing a decent amount of damage over time per second here. His 4th skill adding even more damage over time here for 2 seconds if it procs at 10% chance, and you have a 15% attack and defense bonus to archers. Very, very strong. Now you also have Kira pumping out a ton of damage as well. 1000 direct damage factor here, up to 3 targets, I should say. Deals direct damage up to 3 targets, that's an AoE. Damage dealt reduced by 15% because I don't know why, that's the only epic commander that has that, but targets also take damage over time, 200 for 2 seconds. That's 1400 damage factor across the board for your entire AoE. Again, very, very strong. Also having a 10% attack and defense bonus to archers, and having an 80, that's right, an 80% skill damage chance increase. So 10% chance on normal attacks to increase your skill damage by 80% for the next 3 seconds. Now that's just for this march. Unfortunately, it's not for all the marches, but it is still very strong. And again, with all the skill damage getting pumped out by this pairing, it's pretty sweet. You just got to be careful because it is a little squishy. Okay, it's a little squishy. All right, let's bring it out on the field. Bingo bango. All right, here we go. Number 5, Baybars Pelagius. Now again, I toyed around with throwing Belisarius here. It's not a bad idea. You guys just know how much I hate Belisarius on this channel. But as a secondary, he's not bad. The reason I kept Pelagius is because he does do quite a bit of damage here, and because of the rage. Restores rage, 100 rage after he casts his active skill. He also has Cav bonuses to attack and defense, 15% is very strong, and a heal over time, 900. Healing factor is very strong, but it is a 10% chance, so it doesn't proc all the time, but it does proc often enough. Once every 10-12 seconds is usually the clip that you see this, although sometimes you'll see it pop off once every 2 or 3. You'll see it pop, and then like 4 or 5 seconds later pop again. So very, very strong skill. So that's why I decided to go for Pelagius as a secondary to Baybars instead of Belisarius, but again, you can get away with Belisarius there if you so choose. Let's bring him out on the field here. Let's go take down a barbarian just to show you how quickly this thing will melt through some stuff. I had a 21 lined up right here for you all, but unfortunately, I guess he disappeared. So let's go over here to the 24, and let's see how quickly it takes down this level 24 barbarian. Again, there's no legendary commanders here. In fact, Bjorn isn't even technically maxed yet, although I can max him. I've got like 8,000 sculptures, but you'll get the drift here on why this is such a powerful punch. Everything is skill damage. Everything is playing on one another, and this thing may actually go down quicker than you can cast that second skill here. As soon as that first set of primaries go off, it should basically melt. There it goes. It just melted instantly. Didn't even get a chance to cast all the primaries there because it's, again, pretty strong. It's pretty strong for an epic set. Again, you're not going to be able to compete, guys, with your XY Chandras and your Ramses YSGs. I mean, these guys will melt. in those situations. But if you're on the fringes of a main fight, if you're not the ones on the front lines, which again you shouldn't be if you're in this situation, you will do really well with this set of 5 marches. And again, no real investment needed for these epic commanders. You can get these epic commanders maxed out relatively quickly, even in the early game. By the time KVK 1 rolls around, by the time KVK 2 rolls around, you should have these commanders maxed, doing events, doing barbarian killing, etc., forts, all that good stuff. You should have all of these maxed and ready to rock and roll on the battlefield, especially if you're not pushing hard on getting a lot of legendary commanders. Now, obviously, some early game commanders that you could use to partner in with these things, legendary wise, YSG is always a prime example of one that you can pop into any one of those 5 marches and it will be perfectly fine. In fact, it'll be 10 times better. You've got Charles, obviously 5511. You can pop that up front as secondary Sun Tzu and figure out another spot for Joan, stuff like that. Always a good pairing for stuff like that. So, and again, if you're spending into the game and you got a VIP Minamoto, he can certainly be thrown in there with Baybars or with Pelagius and be perfectly fine. I like keeping Baybars because he has such a strong AoE though, so kind of keep that in mind. That being said, let's go ahead and end the video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope it's been helpful for those of you that needed something like this as an updated, not free-to-play, I don't want to call it free-to-play, but a full epic open field pairing setup here, because again, you can do a lot of work with that. You just have to be careful. You just have to understand how to fight and not just rush in and take on 300 million players with max tech and max everything. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers, have a good one, and take care.